everybody. Welcome to the Straight Outta BS podcast. Thank you guys again for all of your support. You guys are amazing. And I want to thank all my Patreon members specifically. Just thank you guys so much. Donations were never expected. So whenever I get financial support from anybody, it just means the world. So I'm just going to use that to improve the podcast. So thank you guys so much from the bottom of my heart. It really means the world to me. Thank you guys for sharing. Thank you guys for liking. Thank you for all the support in its various forms. And I want to do a moment of silence for the person still struggling with intrusive thoughts or addiction or anything like that. So on the count of three, I'm going to do a moment of silence. 1, 2, 3. Okay, thank you for that. And without further ado, I want to go ahead and introduce my guest for the day. Go ahead and introduce yourself and where you went and what year.
Hi, I'm Juliann Swan. I went to Crosscreek Manor in 95 to 97, and then I was a retread at 2000 to 2002.
Okay, could you move a little bit closer to the camera, the mic?
I can hold it like that.
Yeah, that's fine. That's fine. Could you re-say that?
So yeah, Juliann Swan. I was at Crosscreek Manor from 95 to 97, and then from 2000 to 2002.
Okay. And can you walk us through what was happening like at home before you went to the program? Like what led up to it?
Well, what's funny is I wasn't the average, drinking and going out at night and doing drugs or any of that. My family put me in Cross Creek because I had anger issues, and I am adopted, and so their excuse was that I had serious anger issues and I didn't know how to control it, and it was just a very, very hard time in my life, and I was 13 years old, and I wasn't one of those people that did like those horrible things of, going out and sleeping around or doing anything like that. I was angry.
Yeah.
That was pretty much it. And then that was the first time. And then the second time, in 2000, I had my firstborn son in 2000, and he is a product of a rape. And of course, my mother was adamant that I had to have been that bad girl who was going out and sleeping with everybody in town, yada, yada, yada. So come to find out, Cross Creek was not willing to take me back because I was a mother. And my mom sued them to take me back because it was their fault that I got pregnant and that, I was this misfit from, and that's, oh God, how old was I? I was 17, and yeah, I mean, both times, to be honest, most of Cross Creek is a blur. I get a lot of friend requests on Facebook and stuff like that, and I'm looking at them and I'm like, I think I know you. I don't, I don't know. So, that was a big chunk of my life gone. I never got to enjoy a high school graduation, never did senior prom, never did any of those things that most high schooler kids do. And yeah, I totally was, not wouldn't say I was rebellious in Cross Creek. I didn't understand Cross Creek. They wanted me to do things that I wasn't capable of doing. And and then they would revert to only letting me be on like I think it was like I was on stage 2 for like 7 months, and I think I failed like 4 seminars, like all that jazz, and it was just because I didn't have the mental understanding of what in the heck they wanted from me. So even up for so on my second time, man, that was a breeze. Not then I knew exactly what they wanted, and like I think the second time was the hardest because they told me that if I did not hand over my rights to my son, I would be there till I was 21. And so they made me sign paperwork that gave guardianship and full authority of my son to my mother. And, of course, on this lie that I was going to be there till I was 21, which was total crap. Turns out it was just total farce. And it destroyed my relationship with my oldest son. He and I'm not his mom. I was put in there exactly 4 weeks after he was born. So, I got to see him on his first birthday, and all those rememberable things, those wonderful things that happen when you have a child, gone. I never got any of it. And so him and I, like, even to this day, we don't get along. It's not like we fight. It's I'm not his mom. So in many ways, like, Cross Creek hurt so bad. I have a 24-year-old son, and he doesn't exist to me, and it's hard for him too. And it was all based on a lie. So yeah, I ended up getting out of Cross Creek when I was 19 and a half, because they told me if I chose to do the walkout thing or whatever it is, that I would immediately go to prison. I freaking believed them, so yeah, that was really hard.
I can only imagine. So I'd like to if you're comfortable, if you're okay with this, I'd like to tackle it since you went 2 times. I think we should tackle it chronologically for time. Would that be okay with you?
Sure.
Okay. So the first time, so let's focus on the first time just right now. The first time you went there, were you transported or did your parents bring you up there?
The first time I was, my parents took me up there. It was my mom and my grandmother that drove me up to Utah. Yeah, I remember that very well.
Okay.
Yeah,
You
the
want
second
to?
time I was transported.
Okay. Walk us through the first time you went.
The first time, my mom told me that I was going to be going to this school, and she said nothing about therapy. She said nothing about treatment. She said nope, it was a school, and that it was in Utah, and we had a long drive, and because I lived in Texas at that time, so it was a pretty long drive to get to Liverpool. And on the way, like, my mom and my grandma didn't tell me anything about what was going on, and I came in and I was in pure shock the moment I walked through the door. That first set of doors, it's about the only thing I really remember about Cross Creek. The first set of doors, my mom and my grandma said goodbye. They handed me a bag of clothes, because that was back when we had actual clothes, and I'm that old school. And yeah, and then it was goodbye, and boom, the door's locked. And I just looked around, and I'm looking at this staff member. I can't even remember who my intake was. And these two girls that just looked like me, and they were like, okay, this is what's going to happen. And, we need to do all this. We need to strip search you, yada, yada, yada. And I'm sitting there going, what kind of school is this? Like, I was so confused. So yeah, and then after that, it was, I had Garth. And like at that time, B group was the bad girls group. Like, we're talking everybody was just horrible what they did on the outside. And I'm sitting there going, I'm angry. Like,
Yeah.
it was so weird. And they're all expecting me to like tell them, oh, you've done drugs, you drank, you slept with somebody, you had to have. And I'm like, no, I haven't. I'm no, I'm angry. And the funniest thing is like in groups and all of that stuff, my lord, I was the beating bag. that during that time, because I was not the one who understood any of what other girls had been through. So like entirely my innocence was thrown out the door at the age of 13 by Cross Creek, and I understand like we all have problems and we're all trying to get our lives to normalcy, but like the bad girls group, really? You know?
Yeah.
And yeah, in my anger before that time, I was very violent and like, trying to hurt my mom and take my anger out on my mom. So I understand where that was all coming from. But unfortunately, in Cross Creek, I never found out how to deal with it at all. Like, all Cross Creek did was make me bury that anger so far down that, like, doesn't exist. I'm not angry anymore, you know? Um, and it wasn't until about, let's see, about 12 years ago that I actually finally learned how to deal with my anger. And, yeah, so that was the first time. And I was there during the time that we ended up going into freaking uniforms. They were so awful. And I ended up, it's actually kind of funny that during the first visit that I had with my mom, I was able to go off property and my mom took me to dinner. And all of a sudden I fainted at the table. And my mom immediately rushes me to the hospital and finds out that I have double pneumonia. And I didn't even know I had it. And like there was blood coming out of my ears. It was horrible. And my mom, like, thank God it happened in front of her. But she and my stepdad at the time just killed Cross Creek about the fact that we didn't have sweatshirts and jackets at all in the winter, in the dead of winter, and it was cold. So, fortunately, I mean, my mom is kind of an advocate and she did do things to help us, but I think she was definitely led down the wrong path when it comes to what they really did and didn't do, you know. Um, so yeah, I mean, thank God my mom was there. She got us sweatshirts. Thank you, Mom. Uh, and I think even at that time we didn't even have pants. I think it was just shorts. So it was something that was desperately needed when they did their stupid uniform change. But other than that, like, yeah, I have blocked out so much. It's ridiculous. You know, it's just a black hole, and I try so hard to sometimes think about like what was day-to-day life, what was the food like, what did I do? I don't remember any of it, and I sure as heck don't remember group. I remember groups being more of a like out to get each other kind of thing. I remember, especially if someone was trying to go up in a level, my God, it was like a popularity contest, and it was just so wrong. There was no way of healing in that place. They were terrific at ripping you apart. They were terrific at tearing you down to your last molecule. They really sucked at bringing you back up. They just did not know how to make you feel human again, or at all for that matter. So, it was just floating through life for the longest time.
How long were you there the first time?
Oh, 95 to 97.
Okay.
So almost 2 years.
And what happened? What was the circumstance so that you went home? Did you graduate? Did you get pulled? What happened?
I got pulled. It was the strangest thing. Yeah, I went to the St. George? Yes, I went to the St. George program. And all of a sudden, one day, my mom walks through the front door and gets me. And I'm standing there going, what the freak? What? Whoa. Oh my gosh, yeah. So she just came and got me. She never explained why. It was, I still to this day don't know why, you know. Yeah, just to kind of send me back was kind of stupid, but hey.
So after the first time you went there, what did you struggle with the most as a result of your first time being there?
People, period. If they, obviously when you get on the outside, your group's not there. All those 200 girls' faces are gone. And like, there's people who've grown up that I knew before, and they've grown up, and I haven't been able to grow up because I was in Cross Creek, and so I'm 2 years behind, literally. Yeah, educationally, I was up, and I was fine, and I went to high school and stuff, but the people part was so hard because I didn't belong there. I had totally been institutionalized. And it's not that I wanted to go back to Cross Creek in any means. I wanted my world to be smaller, a lot smaller, instead of being dumped into a school of, I think it was 1,000 kids, it's like, holy So my first couple of years of high school, like I did pretty good, I passed all my classes. I did my freshman and sophomore year in Texas. And then half of my sophomore year, we moved to Colorado. And that's when all hell broke loose on me. It went downhill real fast. Because I was taken out of one normal, put into a different normal. And I understood that normal and I was good at that normal. And then I come to what the hell am I doing in hillbilly hell over here? And like, I went from a school of 1,000 kids to a graduating class of 18 kids. So it was definitely like shell shock. And the worst part of it was that my high school up here in Colorado, it was a dogfight. My Lord, it really did remind me of Cross Creek a lot of, who's the most important, who's the prettiest, who's, you've got to be part of this or that, or you're not going to make it, and so I turned into that groovy loner chick in the corner that plays the cello, and nobody knew what a cello was. So, but like when it came to us moving up here, that's when it got really hard on me. Because I've never been one of those kind of people that like to fit in. I'm not one of those people that like to do what everybody else is doing. I'm not part of the crowd. And I think a lot of us kids that have been locked up are a lot like that. You try to find your own normal and stay in your own little shell where nobody can hurt you, and living in a small town like this, it was impossible. It was just utterly impossible. So my attitude towards my parents went crashing, and the anger came back up and that shell got cracked. I wasn't able to hold it in anymore. And then on one unfortunate night, I ran away. And that unfortunate night, I got attacked in an alleyway in between two restaurants. And yeah, that's when my son came to be, and I didn't find out that I was pregnant until I was about 6 months along. So, excuse you, sorry. One of my kids, sorry. So yeah, it was just absolutely mortifying, and I tried to tell my family that I didn't do this. This was not me. I didn't do this. This wasn't my fault. You know. But of course, at that time, I was the town whore, and the bicycle that everybody had taken a ride on. And unfortunately, like, it was not true at all. And even to this day, this is a struggle between me and my mom. She's finally admitted it, that it was rigged. But I think it's too damn hard for her to understand that she put me away and I never got to be with my son. And it was because she thought that I was something that I wasn't, you know. So that's when I went to Cross Creek the second time. And then Cross Creek the second time, that was when I was transported. And that was not funny at all. It was terrifying. I was actually at work. And I had, I think, a half a credit left in high school. So I worked during the days. And I was at a friend's house because my mother and I were not getting along. And my mother gave me permission to be there. And then all of a sudden, the police show up. And they ask for me. And I'm like, I'm right here. What did I do? And they were like, well, you've been reported as a runaway. And I was like, what? My mom knows exactly where I am. Like, I've had permission from her family, my friend's family, and my family to be there. No, what this was about is that they took me to the jail and they sat me down, put me in a nice comfortable room, and then these two people walk in and they go, "Are you ready to go?" And I knew exactly what was going on. And I just kind of went, why? Like, but I'm graduating high school. Like, what did I do wrong? How is this happening again? And so my mom didn't even show up. They were waiting for her to show up. And then she finally called and said, no, I'm not going to do it. And she wouldn't even let me say goodbye to my son. And they just hauled me off in a white van.
In front of your son?
No, she wouldn't let me see him.
Oh.
She wouldn't let me say goodbye. Oh yeah, that was horrible.
Do you remember if they handcuffed you or any of that? Do you remember if you flew?
Yeah, they threatened to. What they told me is you can either sit in front of us and be handcuffed and, you know, not follow the rules and try to run, or you can lay back in the back seat, lay down and chill out and relax. And so I chose to lay down and be in the back seat, and I think I pretty much cried the entire way.
Okay. What was the hardest part about being there the first time for you? If you had to choose one thing, and then how did you deal with it when you were there?
Oh Lord. My animals. My animals have always been a support for me. And even during my hardest times in life, I've always had a cat or a dog, you know, and my best friends. And I think honestly, I would, in my mind at night, just think that one of my cats was sitting with me while I was in Cross Creek, you know, and even sat there, you know, hoping that I could somehow feel them, you know. And so what Steph didn't know is that I would take a bundle of laundry and I would put it behind my legs. That way it felt like one of my cats.
Oh, I love cats.
I've got 3. I don't know where they are though.
When you got there, so when you got there the second time, what kind of I'm curious, like if they had you at, did they have like you at level 1 0 points again? Did they kind of have you like hovering as a junior staff? What did they?
Nope, I was level 1, starting right over again.
Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, and the interesting thing is when I walked through those doors the second time, I felt nothing at all. Like, in my head, I saw those two girls. I knew exactly what was going on. Saw the staff, and I said, "All right, let's do this." I mean, that was literally in my head. Bring it on. You want me to do this again? We'll do it again. Like, fine, whatever. Um, so yeah, I mean, like, I think they made more of a rebel out of me the second time than it was the first. Because I was just like, you know what? I know this. You've got nothing new for me. Like, I know how to do this. So unfortunately, the second time, man, I crushed those, levels. I was boom, 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 and went straight to the St. George campus, and went to college there for a little bit, and then I can't remember. My mom took me out again the second time. I'm not sure why.
Okay, so the St. George campus, is that somewhere like off of Cross Creek campus? Is that somewhere you go to college afterwards or something?
Yeah, it was something they were trying. Now, I don't know if it went through, but when I was there, St. George campus was literally this hotel that they rented from a very nice Indian family. And I think it was like an old Holiday Inn or something like that. It was trash. And at St. George, like it was literally in St. George. And so that was, quite the distance from Laverkin to St. George. So yeah, that was for a place for especially kids who graduated or were close to
Interesting.
graduating high school. A lot of us went there. It was also a place that high levelers would go. It was kind of their transition place, but not really. Like it was a very strange place. So yeah, when we went to St. George at that time, and I believe it was around the end of 2000, I think, maybe 2001. They would let us go to college at St. George University. So they rented this weird little house, and Ron June, who was one of the therapists, he was kind of like our den dad, like, so as college girls who were going to college would go to that house every day, and it was kind of like our group place, so that we would go in and check in. We're still part of Cross Creek. We even had our uniforms on. So we are in college with CCM on a stupid shirt, wearing these god awful brown dresses that I tell you were the most polygamous looking dresses you have ever seen in your life. Like these skirts that went all the way down to your ankle. Like it was hideous. And yeah, so we would go to our classes there and then go back to the house, and then a van would come and pick us up. Now, the most effed up part about it is there were three girls when I was in that college thing. Three girls didn't come back one day. They just evaporated. So, of course, the um the staff was just hysterical. Everybody's freaking out. These girls are 18. Like all three of them were 18. So, I'm like, peace be with you girls. Like, I hope you're okay. But yeah, they just never came back. And it was a little bit after that I left. But the funny, not funny at all, actually. This is the most effed up thing that happened to me. At St. George, I had a labs class one night, and staff knew, and it was on the schedule board. It was all on this shit, yada, yada, yada. I was at this chemistry class doing labs, and it was like 7 o'clock at night. I go to our spot to go get picked up by the van. The van's not there. I'm like, okay, I'm freaking out. So they give us like 76 cents or something like that in order for us to use the payphone, in order to call them if something happens, right? Well, I called them. Nobody's there at St. George. Nobody. It just goes to voicemail. So I am flipping out. I'm freaking out. I'm terrified because, oh my God, where like, what do I do? Where do I go? What? Oh my God. And a friend of mine that I had made in class, he gets me some money, and I keep calling them and calling them and calling them. Like I called 4 times. I left 4 messages. So it's about 8 o'clock at night. And then all of a sudden the van shows up screaming through the parking lot. And they're like, oh my God, I'm so sorry. We were all at a seminar. And I'm like, what seminar? What the frick? And so apparently the entire facility of St. George had gone to Laverkin for another seminar. And it was one of the point seminar, whatever the heck those were. So they forgot about me. I was alone. I was mortified. Now, here's what happened after that. I go into one of the seminars, which was like 2 weeks later, and Garth, Ron June, and ugly bald guy, can't remember his name. They all of a sudden call me out in front of all these girls, and they say, "What did you do on this day?" And I can't even remember what day it was, but I was like, I got left at the campus. And they were like, "No, you didn't." And I'm like, "No, I literally did. Like, I got left at the campus. Like, I called you guys. I left messages." And Ron, the big Ron, I remember, Ron Garrett, he was like, "Well, we only give you 76 cents. So how in the hell could you have made all those phone calls to call us if we only gave you 76 cents?" And I'm like, "Well, Ron, like, there's people in the world, like, they helped me. They knocked me down 2 phases because of their fuck up." And like, I was mortified. Like, all I could do was just sit there and go, "Are you are you shitting me?" Like, but I couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe it. So like, it didn't take long for me to get back up those phases and straight back to St. George and all that. But it was just I was just in shock. Like the way they covered it up, their mess up, because they legitimately knew they messed up bad. Like they lost one of their people. And I was just standing there, I was just standing there waiting for them. But of course, they can't blame themselves. They have to blame one of us. So whatever. But yeah, so I ended up, I don't remember, I left in 2002. And after the second time I left, man, I was 19 and a half-ish. And boy, did I run. I just ran for years. I wouldn't stop for a long period of time. I didn't do drugs, or I wasn't drinking or anything like that. I just ran, like anything to get away from my family, to not be with my family. Um, I was so confused, so tortured that I didn't know what to do. I didn't know who I was. I didn't know anything about me. All I knew was I was a whore and a bad mother and, slut, and I was ugly, and I was, all of this stuff. And that's all I knew, was all of these things that Cross Creek had told me that I was, and yeah, those I am statements are great, but they don't mean shit, because it's like, I'm sorry, but you've put me down way down here, and you're telling me to be up there, but I don't know how. Like, there's a miscommunication on how to get from the bottom to the top. And so for many years, like, bad relationships. I married when I was 21. That was bad. I ended up having another son, and I've got four children total, and my daughter I gave up for adoption. And the family asked me, she was like, "Well, why did you do it? Like, why? You've got your head on straight." By that time, I was doing much better, but I was like, "Look, I don't want her to turn out like me." And I seriously thought for so many years that I was just a horrible person. Like, I might as well have murdered somebody. That's what I felt about myself. I was so destroyed and angry and sad and hurt and alone. And of course, being female, I would try to go to men, trying to find that safety. And well, that didn't work. Got some great kids out of it, though.
Hmm.
I didn't love my children, but even when I had my daughter, I was like, I'm not good enough. I'm not good enough. I'm not good enough. I'm not good enough. And for the longest time, even with her, I have an open adoption. And it wasn't until she was about 14 years old that I finally went, I'm good enough. I am good enough. Like, screw you. I am good enough. Like, look at everything I've been through. Look, everything I've survived, everything I've done. Okay, I'm gonna open that relationship with my daughter, completely. And I mean, yeah, we would talk, but like we wouldn't talk about deep stuff. And she did end up watching the program and called me crying and was just devastated. And she goes, "Now I understand." And I was like, "Yeah, unfortunately, honey, that's why." And my daughter, I mean, she's freaking amazing, and she turned out so well. But I even to this day I struggle, large places, anxiety, PTSD, depression, and as you can see, I just recently had a, triple disc replacement in my neck, and severe chronic back issues that started when I was 20, which doesn't make sense. Like they can't figure out why. And always think about this one thing in seminar when we were beating the crap out of the floor with those towels. And I kind of go, could that be it? Could that be why I'm destroyed literally from the inside? Like everything's falling apart all the way down. It's just going bye-bye. All my discs are shot and have been shot for about 22 years now. So it's Cross Creek and the W.W.A.S.P programs and all of that, they don't just leave you mentally and emotionally tortured, but you're tortured physically too, and for the rest of your life. Like there's things that we did in Cross Creek that, my Lord, like I think about it and my neck starts to hurt. Like it's just like an automatic, oh my God thing. Um, yeah, I mean, thank you, Cross Creek.
If you could go back in a time machine, knowing what you know now, would you do it, and why? And not go through them, obviously. Knowing what you know now, though.
That's hard. I would go back for one reason, to help the other girls that were in so much pain. Um, Knowing what I know now. And the second time I was in Cross Creek, a lot of people called me Mama Jules because I was the first mother to be in there. And that's when they started accepting pregnant women and stuff like that. But knowing the kind heart that I have and the fact that I know the pain and I understand who you are, I understand you, I'd go back in a heartbeat to help them. For me, not so much. I mean, I don't think if I had the capacity, I would never be a staff member, that's for sure. You
Yeah.
know, but I would definitely be that girl that's there to help, like I was the second time, you know.
Okay.
Yeah, I would go back. I wouldn't send my own kids though.
Fucking hell. Fucking hell.
Hell no. Nope. Nope.
Was there anything positive about either of your experiences at all? And you can say no, it's perfectly fine.
The girls. That's it.
Yeah.
The girls. Other than that, no, that place sucked.
Okay. And do you remember what your stretch was in focus, by chance? Or they
Which
had you
time?
like what?
Which time? Oh my God. I think I took focus. Oh God. I took focus like 5 times.
Did they have you do it? Did they have you do a different stretch every time?
Yep.
Oh my
Yep.
God.
Yeah. God. Oh my. I pretty much think I've nailed them all because I absolutely refused to do the seminars because I thought they were stupid. So, yeah, I did so many of those. And finally, the last time, good freaking night. I think I was a butterfly or some crap like that. I cannot remember. And
But
finally, they pushed me through the seminar
did
because I refused to do it. So, yeah, that was.
they make you staff any of the seminars?
Oh, God, yeah.
Yeah?
Oh, yeah. I staffed, especially the second time. Now, the first time I only staffed once, but the second time, I blew through all of this crap. And so I ended up staffing like 6 or 7 seminars. Um, and I freaking hated it. I absolutely hated it. Like the way they pitted us against each other, and I'm not one of those people that are like, you're awful. I freaking hate you. Sitting there feeling like Karen 100% of the time. Sorry if anybody's name is Karen. But like, the way that they would just make you ugly to your family, but some of these girls, I think the hardest thing was to see how much pain they were in. you know um Most seminars don't do crap, and the groups maybe gave a little help, and for sobriety, yeah, CCM was great. you know couldn't do jack crap in that place, but the sadness and the fear and the hurt and all that ugly. Mm, I'll never forget it. That part I'll never forget. The looks on those girls' faces and the pompous supervisors or whatever. I can't remember his name, Glenn or something. I can't remember. Um, just the way that they, pretended that we've done all this healing, and you're supposed to feel better when you're done. And I'm even looking at it going, do you feel better? I don't feel better. Okay, we'll fake feeling better, put a smile on your face because we're Cross Creek, it's like, oh yeah, I staffed many seminars.
Okay. Do you feel guilty for anything that you like, since you were an upper level and you did go through all the levels, do you feel guilty for anything while you were there? And it's perfectly fine
That's
if you don't, but
No, I do in only the seminar fashion because there were times that they loved to pit each other, pit the girls against each other and, oh, you did this, oh no, you didn't do this. It was just such crap just watching the drama unfold in that place. The only guilt that I have is definitely the points in Cross Creek during the seminars, where they're making you scream at these girls. just scream at the top of your lungs on how horrible of a person they were, what they did to their family. I don't even know what you did to your family, okay? But like, making all of this shit up and just vomiting on people. And like, I just hope that any of the girls that I had to do that to are okay. And that all of that crap didn't mean shit. We were all trying to survive, so that part, yeah, that's definitely guilt.
Okay. And is it your belief that, knowing what you know now, that these places could or even should or even could be fully regulated, or is it your belief that they should always be shut down?
I think that they need to be shut down. But I think what needs to happen is that there's got to be something for the parents. This is not just a child problem. This is not because your kid is a fuck up. We fucked up for a reason. Like, and I'm not saying it's the parents' fault, but the parents are where we learn everything, and I think, honestly, I'm not saying lock up our parents, although, no, I'm kidding. But, there needs to be something for that. There needs to be a place that's, number one, not a lockup. Number two, treatment is fine as long as you're treating people, you're helping them. You're not military breaking them down and forgetting how to build them back up. That I think the biggest thing is this is about families. Troubled teen industry has always been about families. They just turned it to your teen is a screw up and we're going to fix it. And I think, honestly, we've got a long way to go. And I don't think residential treatment plans are the thing. I don't think that a troubled teen industry is as good. It's not. It's painful. It hurts and it screws you up for life. And I can't say anything good about it. Like, it wasn't a vacation. It's not those pretty brochures, bullshit on the horseback ride and pictures and, having fun on the sand. Oh, please. It's a lie. And I think instead of putting all the blame on kids, it's the parents also. And we need to find a way to make that work, not blaming it on just one thing and then throwing them away because it's too hard.
Totally. What do you think you needed instead of being sent away? What do you think would have helped you?
That's a good question. Well, I don't know. I went through a dialectical behavioral therapy about 12 years ago. Now, that's what turned my life around. Now, I don't think in 1997 or 5 or hell, even in 2000, I don't think that existed. I think mental health definitely needs work. A lot of work. And we need to understand that people are all different. And we all come all shapes and sizes and brain folds and all that jazz, So I think, honestly, mental health would have been the greatest thing. Not telling me that I'm horrible, not telling me that I'm ugly, that I'm a bad mother. That understanding that there was so much pain, that there was a reason that I acted the way I did. And I couldn't tell anybody. I didn't know how, So finding ways to actually talk about the pain would have been a hell of a lot better than throwing me away.
Okay. Have you ever tried to talk to your parents or talk to your parents? And do you think you could ever forgive them? I've forgiven my parents, but I'm never going to forget what they did to me. So where are you with your parents?
Well, my stepfather passed away, so I forgive him. It's not just because he's dead. But like, my mom, I do live with my mother, and she's 76 years old, and yes, I forgive her. No, I will never forget, and I will always question. You know, I have tried to talk to her about it, and she's blocked off completely. And I leave it. I leave it because I understand the pain she's in. I totally get it. Like, yeah, if I did that to one of my kids, I wouldn't want to remember it either.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Is there anything else you want people to know about your experience, or anything that you might tell a parent thinking about sending their kid to a place like this?
Do some soul searching if you're thinking about placing your child in a troubled teen industry. Um, Children are not objects to be thrown away, and being a parent is hard. And sometimes you have to do things that are unconventional to make it work. Um, but throwing away your child to someone else so that you can have a break is not the way to do it. And for all my sisters and brothers out there, I hope only the best for everyone out there. I love every single one of you that have been through this, even you. And, um, there is strength that I cannot believe, that is just so profound, that I have seen on Facebook and Twitter and oh my gosh, like everything. The way that the troubled teen industry family survivors have come through to each other is just amazing. And a lot of people are asking for help. A lot of us are asking for help.
Yeah.
And to those who are there asking for help, I want to tell you one thing. You asked, and we're here. A lot of us are here, and we understand. And if you are thinking of horrible things and you're not good enough, just pick up the phone and message one of us, and we'll help you. Do not try to take the easy way out, because it won't work. All you're doing is giving up. So, to all my family out there, I love you very much. And yeah, go Cross Creek girls.
Awesome. Thank you so much for coming on the show. And if stuff comes up and you want to do a part 2, just let me know and we'll make it happen.
Perfect.
And if you've watched this far in the video, please make sure you like the video, share it. Really helps the algorithm, and subscribe if you're not already. And let's get these places shut down. And I'll see you guys on the next one.